Welcome to another episode of F It, I've Got a Brain Injury. My name's Ken, and I'm here with Jesse.
The idea of this podcast was to have a podcast for people with brain injuries, for people with family members who have brain injuries, for people who want to learn more about brain injuries. And I wanted to let it be known that me and Ken, the hosts, have brain injuries. So I apologize for my voice, and I also apologize for Ken's face. Thank God you can't see it. He has a face for radio.
I have a face that would make a freight train take a dirt road.
So sit back, relax, grab some popcorn, and enjoy. Hello and welcome to F It, I Have a Brain Injury. I am Jesse. I'm here with Ken, and we're also here with Melissa Capo.
I am a speech-language pathologist here at the College of St. Rose, and I'm the clinical supervisor for a group that you happen to be a part of, along with your podcast co-host, Ken.
Thank you. Today, we will be discussing aphasia, which I know, Ken, you have, right?
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. What does aphasia look like to you?
To start off, a pain in the ass. And I do want to say it does get better as you go along. Names are hard for me. Spelling.
Okay.
Arithmetic. But other than that, it manifests itself in different ways. And before we get into this, Melissa has a few things to say about aphasia.
Melissa, can you give us the definition of aphasia?
Sure. So according to the National Aphasia Association, aphasia is an acquired communication disorder that impairs a person's ability to process language but does not affect intelligence. Aphasia impairs the ability to speak and understand others. And so that information and more can be found at aphasia.org. And I also wanted to make sure that we can direct, especially professionals, to a website that I am really familiar with and has been helpful as a clinician. It's called aphasiaaccess.org. And it provides resources to clinicians looking to help people using the life participation approach to aphasia, which is sort of the basis for which we provide services here in the clinic where you guys get services. So the goal is to help people reach their own communication goals in the way that they want to reach them, getting the supports needed for as long as possible, as long as they need them after their stroke or injury, and for as long as aphasia affects them. And also, services are provided to family members or everyday support professionals.
Thank you, Melissa. I've also noticed that aphasia has been spoken about recently especially because of this news in the world about Bruce Willis. Now, when I brought up Bruce Willis to you, Ken, you told me that his aphasia is a completely different kind that you have.
Yes.
Can you explain?
I just want to say his is a progressive aphasia, isn't it?
Bruce Willis.
Yep.
Bruce Willis was originally diagnosed with primary progressive aphasia. Yes.
And how is that aphasia different from yours?
With mine, I can actually make words. I know what I want to say. I don't know with him if he can.
Okay.
So Bruce Willis was diagnosed with primary progressive aphasia, and that is different.
What is it? Yep.
Well, it's different than what we're talking about, the type of aphasia and communication impairment that we're talking about with this podcast, in that his is dementia related.
Right.
It's progressive in nature, and it's not necessarily only communication. That's part of it. But what we're talking about here is a communication impairment that can be improved, and even if it means modifying some things about the environment, using new strategies, or helping communication partners understand how they can interact or help. So it's a little different.
And like I said, it affects everybody different. We go to the College of St. Rose, and we deal with all kinds of people with different kinds of aphasia. In some cases, mine isn't that bad.
No, yours has definitely gotten better over the years that I've known you.
But like I said, it manifests itself in different ways for me.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm having a conversation with somebody, if I can't get the right words out of my mouth, I'll actually dumb down the conversation to say what I want to say.
That's a good strategy, though, I know.
I have to say, I had the brain injury back about 15 years ago, and anybody that says it doesn't get better is lying, because it does.
Well, that's a good thing.
For most everybody but me, they'd wish I'd shut up.
That is also true.
What kinds of things are the most difficult for you since your stroke?
When at first ordering a pizza was a very difficult thing for me to do. Anything like that. Speaking to people was something that I didn't want to do because it didn't seem to come out correct.
Was it harder on the phone?
No, I think it was more harder on me. It's all in my head.
We share a group together called a book club, and I noticed that when you read your book, you use an audio device.
Yes.
As well as reading.
I actually use a Kindle to read, and I use an iPad for doing my research.
And the reason behind that is?
It's two different ways of speak. What would be the best way to say that? I get audio in my head, and actually, I remember better that way. I can read, but I don't listen. I don't remember what I said. And like I said, numbers are hard for me. Dates are incredibly hard for me.
So you're not dumb. Well,
I wouldn't say that.
I mean, let me repeat that. People with aphasia are not dumb in general. Can,
leave it alone.
I will.
But I'm glad that you bring up the book club and all the people that are in there, because everybody has a certain kind of aphasia or something wrong with them. And they all need different kind of support systems to get them through whatever task they're doing.
Now, I noticed myself that occasionally I can't think of the word that I'm trying to say. The difference with me, though, is a lot of those times it's when I get nervous or put on the spot.
Like right now?
Yes, exactly, right now. Is that similar to you, or does this just happen to you all the time?
It does quite a bit. If I have to call, say, the cable company or something like that, I really have to rehearse what I want to say for it to come out correctly. Repetition is the most important thing.
Yeah. Plus, dealing with the cable company is a project of its own, right?
Right. But there's a lot of technologies out there that help assist whatever problems you might be having as far as speech or language issues. Because I do think that, for me, spelling is a language. Mathematics is a language all on its own, and that's where my holdup is.
Okay. I think the point you made is an important one, that really it doesn't necessarily matter many in the chronic phase, because you've worked to identify certain strategies that help you, right?
Yep.
And I want to summarize a couple of them. And and ask you to elaborate. You mentioned that you rehearse like an important or what you know is going to be a stressful phone call.
Right.
Like with the cable company or ordering a pizza or whatever. I think that's important. And then you also mentioned about using a Kindle for reading. Now, some people might say, well, if I start using my Kindle and the text-to-speech part of it, am I just not working on the stuff that's hard for me, like reading? I always used to be able to read, and if I stop doing that, is it going to make it harder for me to read? What do you say to that?
I would just say throw everything you thought right out the window. You're different than they used to be. You might think you're the same, but inside you are a little different. The way we speak isn't exactly the same. Like me, it's more high-pitched than it ever used to be.
Yep, me as well.
And I would say, I mean, you using that increases your access to something that has been difficult for you since your stroke, but something you liked. Using that is something that's helpful to you and gives you access to something you enjoyed doing before your stroke.
Word of mouth is basically the main thing, because I would have never started reading again if it wasn't for somebody in the group by the name of Cliff. He's the one that got me in contact with Kindle to get me the right device that would help me. So again, word of mouth is very important for us. And just because you may not want to do something, I always say try it. Just don't think you can't do it.
That's a good point, Ken. So, Ken, aphasia affects you not only with coming up with words to say, but also with reading. Does it have any other effects to you? Any other
It's a hard question for me to answer because in the moment is when it really bothers me. Sometimes it's perfect. Some days I wake up and I can talk no problem. Other days it's not the same. And I don't know why that is.
So what are some strategies you use to overcome it?
For me is slowing down, not caring what other people think, which is the hardest thing for me to do. It used to be a problem for me. Now I just don't care.
Yeah, I think you pretty much don't care.
Well, the second you don't care is when you start to get better.
Hey, it's true. And look at you right now. Look how you came in today. You just look like you don't care. So it's perfect.
Well, I don't mind saying that. Well, like we were saying, like going to a restaurant and something like that used to be so hard for me because I'd get lost in the moment. I wouldn't know what I wanted to say. Now you get to the point where you just don't care. It's just the way it is.
I don't know, not me. I always know exactly what I want to eat for a restaurant. That is an issue for me. Well, but I do understand what you're saying.
With all of us, it's a problem of getting to the point where you don't care. Like me wearing a pair of shorts was not going to happen for almost 4 years till I finally said, screw it. These are my legs.
Because of your brace?
Yes. Like I said, a lot of people never get past that point.
Yeah.
Eventually, like I say, and I'm going to say, you just got to say, fuck it.
Yeah. Hence the name of the podcast.
Right. For me, sometimes a conversation can go downhill, but that's normal. It's going to happen that way. Sometimes you may not have something to discuss, and a pause every now and then doesn't hurt at all.
So you mentioned some strategies that you use. Are there specific things other people can do to help make your communication easier?
For me, I just have to say repetition, doing things over and over again is the only way you learn after a brain injury like mine.
Well, for you, but if I'm a person who is a family member or a close friend, what's something I can do to make it easier for you to communicate?
For me, it's just I like a sense of humor. For me, that really breaks the ice for me when I'm having a problem with something. That's when I go to my humor. You don't see it yet because this is one of the first podcasts we have, but it will come out eventually. Take it a little too seriously, I think, but as we get to doing these, it'll get better.
You're much more of a smartass than you're portraying.
Right, exactly.
Podcast episode right now.
But as it gets more comfortable, it'll get better.
So that's helpful stuff. But for other people with aphasia, particularly more severe aphasia, having a pen and paper so that they can write down keywords, or me writing down a keyword that someone could use to help get to the point of what they're trying to say, giving a lot of time. Things like that are helpful strategies that a communication partner can use to help the person with aphasia.
But in the middle of a conversation, that can be very difficult, which is why I say sometimes to make the conversation go better, I don't use the best vocabulary that I have in my suitcase. I just won't do it because I know it won't come out correctly. And sometimes it's not going to come out correctly, and you just, again, got to say, screw it, it is what it is.
In the early days of your rehabilitation, if you can think back to like hospital or rehab, anything you remember, was there anything that was helpful in the beginning around your communication?
I would have to actually say I really can't point anything out. I think as you get more into the brain injury, I think things start to take care of themselves. I really do. It's all about being comfortable in your own skin, and I don't think that comes for years. And for some people, it never happens. The main thing I got to tell you is you don't have to listen to what other people say. You have to have a thick skin sometimes, because some people will not understand. Like my brother, he thinks I can do everything, going upstairs, downstairs, and it's just not that way. A lot of people just don't get it. But sometimes you have to be pushed too. You have to get out of your comfort zone.
So, Ken, you're talking about routine. Now, what kind of routines would you use prior to calling, like, your cable company to ask a question?
Oh, actually, the first thing you get using the cable company is not to be pissed when you're talking to them, which is hard to do. When I'm talking to a doctor or something like that, it's not an issue at all. It's when you're with somebody new or somebody doesn't get what's wrong with you that it really shows. And you don't like to go out and tell that I have a brain injury to everybody. Sometimes it works to your advantage, though. I'm the first one on and off a plane, which is fantastic.
Can I follow up on something you said about you have to not be pissed off before you get on the phone with someone like the cable company or a tough conversation, maybe somebody new. So that we talked about this a little bit yesterday in another conversation we were having. The idea is to be ready, right? You have to be ready to approach those kinds of more challenging situations. It's not like having a conversation with your brother or someone else. You need to either rehearse, but you have to have all your needs met, like having been well rested and fed and not mad about something else and just kind of ready, committed to the idea that it's going to take 30 minutes. What should be a 3-minute conversation is going to take a half hour, stuff like that.
It all comes back to the same thing. Eventually, you just got to say, screw it. You really do. This is the way I talk. If I feel like that I'm pissed off at you, I'm not. It's just the way words come out of my mouth sometimes.
So when you do call, do you write out a script to yourself prior to speaking to people, or? It's
hard for me to do that. What I usually do is use my iPad.
Well, yeah, like text to speech, right? As writing. But do you have scripts that you can look at? So.
Mostly with my doctors.
Okay.
Because that's the only way I remember anything. If I don't use that, something I want to talk to them about gets lost.
So you'd have a piece of paper, and the most important things that you want to speak on would be on that paper. Like, explain to me the process of before getting on that phone and calling your doctor.
For me, it's just PowerPoints, or should I say, PowerPoints would be the way to say that. I have to have something that I don't forget what I need to talk to him about.
So you would have like a list of a PowerPoint list, but a list of topics that you need to speak on.
Right.
Okay. And a lot of people do that regardless. So
preparation is good in our case. It's almost mandatory, but sometimes you can't do it that way.
Yeah.
Sometimes the conversation is better when you don't know what you're talking about. But again, that all depends on the day.
Yeah, that's true.
A strategy that I've heard people with aphasia use, also with more severe aphasia, if they're going to a restaurant, for example, they would look up the menu online ahead of time, choose what they want, and rehearse it themselves, or let the let the person that they're going to the meal with know so that they can get it ordered, and to kind of make them feel like it's a typical restaurant experience, as opposed to being a consumer of services and a person who needs help all the time.
Well, see, I used to do that, and then when you order something that's not on the menu or that they're out of it, that's when I really get stuck. But it's gotten so much better for me, and I just wanted to say right off the bat, anybody that does not think that brain injuries get better just does not know what they're talking about. If you would have seen me talk 15 years ago, it was all jumbled up.
Yeah, I agree with that. My brain injury definitely has gotten better as I've gone on. My first couple of years, I was pretty not a potato, but I wouldn't really have much to say or do. I would just be sitting, doing nothing.
Well, I just called that the 2-year hangover, more or less.
Yeah, it's interesting because it kind of lasted around 2 years. So, Ken, what is more of an issue for you, the reading side or the speaking side? It sounds like it's the speaking.
Reading is not that bad, but like I said, numbers. Like I said, it's its own language. If I have to recite a date or something like that, I just never get it right. Ever.
What about like days instead of numbers?
Oh, that's not a problem. Days are not a problem. It's just letters and numbers are hard for me. And why that is, I have no idea.
So it's not exactly the date in general. It's just the way it's being brought. So if someone actually said like Tuesday, this day, it would be better than saying it's been on the 20th.
That's when you write things down. That's what I have the calendar for. More importantly for me sometimes is not being able to get the words out of my mouth, like I said.
Yeah.
And at St. Rose, we deal with a lot of people with the same issues, and I think between all of us, we actually know what we're talking about. Because everybody's got a different issue than I have. Some read with a Kindle, some don't need it, but they still have a brain injury of some kind. See, in my case, if you want to get right into it, mine is easy to spot because I have the cane, the paralysis on one side. For most people that have it, it isn't noticeable, and I feel sorry for them more than myself.
It's definitely a blessing and a curse.
All at once, I know.
Yeah.
I'd like to go back to something you said about the chronic phase. You mentioned that if anybody tells you it can't get better, they're full of it, because
right.
Of course it can.
And they are.
The traditional, medical professionals, like doctors, and some speech language pathologists, especially in the more traditional sense, would say whatever you can't recover in the first 6 months after an injury you're not going to recover it. 6 to 12 months, say. What would you say to that? Because if a doctor is standing in front of a family member, or a family member just got this information about a loved one recently, and a medical professional in a white coat with all kinds of medical degrees says whatever they don't recover in 6 to 12 months, they're not going to recover, what would you say to that family member?
To that family member, I would say it is going to get better. It always gets better, but you have to work at it too. It doesn't happen overnight. And as far as somebody that tells me you're not getting any better, you can't really say anything to them. You really can't. I don't even want to prove them wrong. I just want to prove myself right.
Did either of you get that message from a medical professional early on?
When I first came out of the hospital, they wanted to put me right into a nursing home that I'd never get any better. They really did. They had me all set in to go to one of the worst nursing homes there is in Chicago. And my mother just pulled me right out of there. Got me on a plane and got me home.
Amazing. And Jesse, did you hear anything like that early on after your...
Well, mine was a little different. They kind of said I was at there was a point where I wouldn't be able to go
A
past
plateau.
Plateau, exactly.
Proving them wrong.
Yeah. I think it presents itself for me in these circumstances where I am put on the spot or nervous or anything like that. Because that, for me, that's when I believe it could be aphasia, it could be something else, but that's when my mind goes to a blank sheet of paper. When someone is asking me a question, I would know it. I'd know the answer 2 minutes prior to answering it. But once you ask it, poof, blank piece of paper.
In your own mind, you have to regroup is what it is. And again, you've got to the point where you just don't care what other people think. It's you that's going through it, not them.
I know. Regroup, though. What do you mean, how? How would you regroup?
Because I think if you gave yourself more time, that you would figure out what you wanted to say, because it's in the back of your mind. And I think you put the pressure on yourself.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree that I probably do put the pressure on myself, but what I would like to know is, like, what do you do that or maybe not now because you're so much better at dealing with it, but when you started, what did you do?
I'm just going to say it again. I said, fuck it. To put it plainly, it's the only way you're going to get better. It really is. It's up to you, not up to anybody else. I feel more sorry for my mother and father that had to go through it. They felt the brunt of it when I was pissed off at the world. The different levels that you go through. First, you're mad at yourself, and then you're mad at others, and then you just finally have to get over it. I thought that I would get better physically, and I just haven't.
Yeah.
But I think mentally I've made a lot of gains. And I'm not one to... Actually, I don't... Someone else has to point that out to me, because I don't. I don't see it. I really don't. And I'm not one to toot my own horn. I never talk about myself. I don't mind talking about you, but not myself.
That's true. For people who do need something, is there something you could suggest for that?
Just take your time. Mainly for me is just slow it down and don't think about other people. Think about yourself.
But we work really hard not to get, I know the purpose of the topic of this podcast is aphasia, but the life participation approach to aphasia and the way, in the clinic at St. Rose, the way we approach things is not to say it's this much aphasia, it's this much communication, it's this much cognition, it's this much behavior. Rather, here's a person presenting themselves to us in the face of these goals, these are obstacles. What can we do based on our clinical background to help the person move past these obstacles and use strategies and, to help them be successful with those goals. And some of those things are augmentative, and some of them are, maybe over time seek to reduce the impairment so that you don't see as much aphasia or other communication impairment or cognitive difficulties because you're using these other things to help you. Does that make sense?
Sometimes you got to make it get better, but it will if you allow it to.
I would say that it definitely gets better because from knowing Ken this long, I definitely have noticed him deal with his aphasia much better. And I think it happens a lot less with him than it did when I first met him. So I will want to congratulate you on that. And
And you want me to say thank you.
I was waiting for it, but then I remembered who I'm talking to.
The main thing I'd say is listen to your doctor, but don't listen to your doctor. I don't know how else to put it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for listening to F It, I Have a Brain Injury. I'm Jesse, and this is Ken.
And I hope you all get something out of this podcast.
We would love to hear your stories too. See you next time.
See you next time.